Kris Sutton may have been a good footballer, but he could have certainly made a career as a boxer because he constantly takes digs at Rangers. And now, with Phillipe Clement having boxed up his stuff and heading back to Brussels, Kris Sutton is throwing another big right dig. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. This guy, he just cannot pass up an opportunity to attack Rangers, take a dig at Rangers, underhanded tactic. And here, maybe Boyd would do the same thing if Rangers were actually on top, but I guess we'll never know because it's always the Celtic show, it's always the Celtic way, it's always Celtic in first place and Rangers in second. But Sutton has responded to the fact that the time is over for Phillipe Clement, and he could not help himself with another dig at yet another Rangers manager having been sent away thanks to the man in the Celtic dugout, Brendan Rodgers.
The Chuckle brothers are here, but let's begin with the Sutton side of the brother effect. We have got a tweet, and I quote, on October 30th, after the defeat to Aberdeen, myself and Boyd said it was time for Big Phil to go. The Rangers board didn't listen. He seemed to be a decent man, but didn't understand the demands of football in Glasgow. Another Rangers manager seen off by Brendan Rodgers. So let's look at it, right? I said I wanted him gone early September.
Hold up, when you said Chuckle, I thought you were referring to us. You were actually talking about Sutton and Boyd.
Aye.
That's alright.
The Chris's. Right, I wanted him gone early September, right? But I knew that wasn't realistic in terms of what the board would do. But let's be honest, 9 points behind Celtic and Aberdeen. It was the second defeat in a week when you factor in the Kelly game. There was not a better time to sack him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
See it 9 points, right? And even though the Rangers team was absolutely ranked rotten, see 9 points with that much to go in the season, it's salvageable. See now, at the end of February into March, 11 games to go, 13 points behind. What's salvageable about it? Out of both competitions. See if you sack him, you're still in the League Cup, the Scottish Cup.
The only thing I would say about that is I actually think Rangers' form under Clement did pick up a little bit after that Aberdeen game.
Had to though.
If you take away that that run of games before and after the 3-0 win against Celtic, that's the only real, I think, group of fixtures where Rangers were bad. After that Aberdeen game, they actually did begin to pull the finger out a bit. And they did
but what happened? There was a serious lack of away games that helped them.
True.
Got to bear that in mind. I think we did win away in Dingwall 3-0, but the rest were at home. I'm thinking like Kelly, etc., etc.
Here, I'm shocked that never got him the sack because we've seen other Rangers managers falling behind Celtic. We've seen them fall like 7-8 behind and then get sacked. I'm pretty sure Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was like 7 behind. I think Michael Beale fell 7 behind. They both got sacked. And for me, the big issue, it wasn't even just the fact that Rangers had fallen 9 behind Celtic. They were falling 9 behind Aberdeen. And honestly, Clement is kind of... could the fact that Aberdeen just completely fell off a ship, could that have maybe saved Clement for a bit longer as well? Do you think if Aberdeen kept up their form and were right up there with Celtic, he would have got sacked sooner?
Potentially, but
9 points behind Aberdeen should have done it for me.
9 points behind Aberdeen is a million times worse than 13 points behind Celtic.
Oh, absolutely.
So, for me...
9 points behind Aberdeen is almost as bad as losing to Queen's Park.
Yeah, no, this is it. You know what I mean? See that week in October, right? Rangers could have closed the gap to 3 points when Aberdeen and Celtic drew. They actually get beat, and it went to 6. And then the week after... they have an opportunity to close it to Aberdeen and keep it to 6 to Celtic, and they blow it to 9. This was the weekend. I agree with Sutton. Let's hear what Boyd, Big Kris Boyd had to say. As he was asked, when did the alarm bells start ringing? Boyd told Sky Sports...
end of last season.
Aye, that's what he's saying. And I quote, I think when you look back to March or April time last year, Rangers lost at home to Motherwell, but just after that, the 3 each with Celtic. When you look back now, there was some signs there. Celebrating a draw with Celtic in a must-win game, I don't think it's something you do as a Rangers manager. Then you go to Ross County, you lose that one. Then you draw 0-0 at Dundee. It was a bad period for Clement. You always felt it was going to be a big summer rebuild for Rangers, but the signings haven't been good enough. Then you lose the Champions League qualifier to Dynamo Kiev. maybe you shouldn't have qualified for the Champions League, or wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League, but that was 5 million that would have been able to help Rangers, but it wasn't to be. They lost it. You also had the whole Hampden thing at the start of the season. So a lot of things have happened to build up to this point. At the end of the day, as a manager, you're in control of what happens on the pitch. You look at Rangers in recent weeks especially. Yes, they may be lacking in confidence, but there's no real style of play. They're just hoping that something happens. End of quote. Right, last season, the Motherwell game, I was there. Tragic. And you know what? I thought it was just a one-off, and then Hearts did us a favour. The mighty Jambos laid the smackdown. Big Yang gets sent off. Correct decision. And
a Stonewall penalty for Hearts as well in that game.
Yep. And for whatever reason, Rangers just didn't. It's a joke. Rangers were the bookies' favourites. They beat Kelly. You know,
they were 2-7. I remember looking at the odds. They were 2-7.
Yeah, Celtic had. It wasn't a collapse of mammoth proportions, but it was a collapse. And then Rangers collapsed, and Celtic didn't look back. That's what happened. I mean, people can say, "Oh, you were favourite for a game," but you know what? Being favourites for a game still highlights the fact that Rangers still got into a position to be favourites.
No, come on, Rangers were at one point,
and that's another reason, right, why the gap between Rangers and Celtic ain't as big as pre-Gerrard. See, before Gerrard, it's not like Rangers had a point where they were above Celtic.
True.
You know what I mean? It was 5-0, 4-1, etc., etc. But for me, the Motherwell game, that was probably the turning point, and then after that, collapsed against Celtic, brought it back to 3 each, but then, see when you blow the lead against Ross County, and then you follow it up with one of the worst games I've ever seen against Dundee.
Yeah, but that whole Dundee game, that was ludicrous. Remember, that got postponed about 4 times.
It did.
Here, I'm not making excuses for Rangers, but I don't think that the fixture scheduling for that helped.
No, it didn't. And here,
had that game happened when it was supposed to, Rangers were in better form and probably would have beat Dundee. I don't think they would have drew 0-0.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here though and claim 2 extra points would have had Rangers walking the league, but
no, but that draw,
it's a momentum.
That draw pretty much, I think, put the nail in the coffin. That was a draw that lost Rangers the title.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. And then you factor in Hampden at the start of this season, that didn't help.
Also, I think people make too much of a deal at the 3-3 draw. I think the 3-3 draw was decent when you consider they almost lost the game. It was a draw that kept it in their own hands. Yeah, they still had to go to Celtic Park, but what would you rather? I would rather have to go to Celtic Park and be able to afford a draw, or a draw or a win, than be at home but have to win. I don't know how you feel, but I would rather go away to one of the Old Firm as the other team and be able to draw the match rather than have the home advantage but 100% need to win. I think that Rangers were still the favourites after the 3-3 draw.
No, they were, because it's in your own hands, and you don't need to win. But they didn't win, and I do think the celebrating knows
all they had to do was draw both games. All they had to do was draw the Ibrox one and draw the Celtic Park one, and they would stay ahead. Obviously, turns out in the end that's not the case, because Celtic, they went on a winning run and Rangers could barely win a fucking match, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. But see, that's the problem, because people were looking at it and they were only taking into account the 2 Old Firm games, and they weren't taking into account all the other matches, which is again disrespectful.
Yeah, because obviously the Old Firm games had a massive say last season, but if you actually think of it, Rangers picked up a point out of all of them.
Yeah, but I know, and the Celtic game changes the results. If Rangers win that, then maybe they don't have the form doesn't drop off. But even if Rangers had to beat Celtic, if you factor in the results that happened after they stayed the same, Celtic still win the league title.
Yeah,
because Rangers fucking fell off the edge of the cliff. So it's like,
yeah. Boyd goes on to say,
and another thing, by the way, I thought was pretty poor, that celebration against St Johnstone.
Start of the season.
Last 16.
Oh.
Remember they jumped into remember they hopped the barricades and they were in the bouncy or something in front of the fans for beating St Johnstone with a dodgy goal as well.
It wasn't even
it's not like
it was the final. Obviously, the final's fair enough. Jesus Christ.
That was to get into it though. Quarters. That was weird.
Yeah. Boyd went on to say, and I quote, "The Chapman changing of players, the amount of substitutions at half time, the summer signings have now found themselves out the team, and also the interviews after the game were telling it was a comedy for the majority of the time with Clement, especially this season. Come Saturday night there, you could tell he was a broken man, and it was only a matter of time for Rangers decided that enough was enough. We've also got to take into consideration that the Rangers Football Club brand would have been damaged had this continued. Look at the empty stands at the weekend, the fans had had enough. When your stadium is more or less empty with 15 minutes to go, I think that tells you everything you need to know. End of quote. Yeah, we can talk about Subway Loyal. I believe someone screamed as they were leaving, and I don't even take the fucking Subway. So, how about that?
Congratulations.
Yeah,
What do you want, a medal? I don't take the Subway.
I'll tell you what, though.
Good for you, buddy.
It'd be very intriguing if Clement was still on the job to see what the attendance would be next week. This weekend, sorry, against Motherwell. Wouldn't it? Obviously, with Ferguson in the job, I expect the attendance to stay right up. But yeah, Rangers up next is Kelly. New ideas, technically old ideas. If you factor in it's the old gang back together. But we'll see how it goes for Rangers. I think there's going to be a few more twists in the tail this season for Rangers. But anyway, leave it down below. Until then, peace.